This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I share answers to your greatest struggles and challenges. I share with you how to move, what to eat, and how you can change your thoughts so you can get the energy and the vitality you want in this second and better half. And today, I'm going into this second of a special two-part mini-series intended to help you figure out how to make this oh so important component of strength training exercise a regular part of your routine in 2019 and beyond. This, after all, is the time of year, as I'm recording this, that we're all committing or recommitting to our health and fitness. Just a shameless plug, this special series is brought to you by my program, Stronger, a 12-week program for strength training that has been a super hit with women for all the reasons I love, both inner and outer strength. Stronger enrollment opens just a few times a year and it closes very soon. So if you want in, you need to get in now. If you're listening after doors close, you can get on the list so you become aware of announcements when we have a special, and we open the doors to get the lowest rate possible provided for newbies. Right now, you can still enjoy the bonus yoga videos we've created for the Stronger participants and 2 separate core videos. There's core exercises in some of the videos, naturally, and strength training done right is all core. The link to check it out is flipping50.com/get stronger. No spaces, no dashes. And it's going to be below in the show notes too. Now, let's get started with how do you make any strength training exercise more effective without more weight? Because let's face it, some of us are exercising at home conveniently on our own. And it gets to a point where you can only lift so much safely. Either if you're targeting a muscle group, it can be unsafe for a smaller joint that has to participate. And or you can simply feel like you're vulnerable. And when you feel that and your intuition kicks in, you want to push yourself. I want to push you. However, I want to do it with you consciously feeling like this is a smart risk. If you're feeling like I need to slow down, I need to abide by my history of injury and what I know is true about me and go at my space or pace. So there are lots of reasons why you can make strength training more effective without adding more weight and would want to. As an athlete, when I'm in the middle of training and getting really close to, say, a race that's important to me, and I use race tongue-in-cheek. The human race is so much more important to me than finishing first, second, or third. But I would want to do less weight and make that more effective because you want to put all of your energy in what is more important. So if you are a golfer during golf season, when you have more time to play, that's probably the time to back off on the weight, maintain your strength training for injury reduction, but enjoy being outside and doing what you love to do. So let's talk about this. So I've got 6 ways you can make any strength training exercise more effective without more weight, and they are this: pause, slow down, speed up, and no, I'm not schizophrenic, challenge your balance, change the order, and then reduce the rest. So let's go into each and every one of those. Pause. Basically, that's hold your position at the end of each pull or each push or both. And this makes the muscle have to decelerate at the end of each movement, come to a complete stop, and then accelerate again. So if you liken this to driving a car, you can see that it requires more exertion to do this than it does to stay in motion. You're going to use more energy and, in this case, more effort. A lighter weight will feel heavier quickly with this technique without stressing the joints. So imagine this, or if you're in a space where you can actually get down on the floor and do this with me, go ahead. So push up. And if you don't normally do push-ups, you could do them against the wall so that you're not overtaxing joints that should be doing this. But the example is this. So if you do a push up, down and up, boom, you're done, right? But if you're using the pause, what you're going to do is lower down, pause at the bottom, not on the floor, but at the bottom when your elbows are bent to the max. You're supporting yourself above the ground and then push up and then hold it at the top, not locking your elbow. That changes things, right? It becomes a lot harder to come back up. First of all, if you've held that end position at the bottom, and likewise, you're at the same weight you were when you did one, but you're not stressing your joints anymore, but you are stressing the muscles. So a smart way to exercise. The second one I mentioned was slow down. Generally, the recommended speed of lifting is 1 to 2 seconds to lift and 3 to 4 seconds to lower. So think about that for a minute in the push-up example. And just because it's an easy one, we just did it. You would lower yourself in 3 to 4 seconds and you would push back up in 1 or 2. So more explosiveness, a little bit more speed coming up. However, depending on your goals, your needs, and there are all kinds of different variations to consider. So first, know that very few people actually use this speed. We all tend to go much faster. Test yourself. Use a partner or, get your watch out. Literally do a few repetitions at the speed you normally do so that you're not slowing yourself down or speeding it up. And then look at the clock. How long does one single repetition take you? For a lot of people, it probably start to end is taking you 3 or 4, maybe 5 seconds. And it should take an average of about 6 seconds. Use a partner to get the best feedback, right? Have someone time you when you're doing your normal speed and see what I mean? Try slowing down even more. It will be painful for you. Not your muscles or your joints, but your personality, your mindset. I shared some information with a client about the average of 10 repetitions in a minute. That's like 6 seconds per, right? 60 seconds. She was like, what? She was getting twice that many repetitions in the minute, which means it's all momentum. There's very little muscle being recruited to do that. So yes, you'll get tired, but for muscle fibers to reach fatigue and thus have a powerful effect or influence on your metabolism, you have to slow down and use them. Combine the pause and the slow down to do manipulation on tempo. Tempo training inserts a lift phase, a pause, a lower phase, and a pause, and assigns a time in seconds to each one. So you might, instead of lifting 2 seconds and lowering for 4 seconds, for instance, change to a 2, 2, 4, 4. And that means you'd be lifting in 2 seconds. You'd hold for 2 seconds. You'd lower for 4 seconds, and you'd hold at the bottom for 4 seconds. You'll find it makes the work significantly more purposeful. This is one of the 99 flips in Hot Not Bothered. So for more information, I'll put that link to the book. You can get the digital version in your inbox in seconds. If you want it, you can get the paperback for shipping only if you want that. So I'll put the link below the show notes. It is hotnotbothered.com. We'll get you there too. Speed up is the next tip. Seriously, okay? I just told you to slow down. I'm not schizophrenic. I realize I just gave you conflicting instructions, but adding power to the first contraction as you lift the weight, go against resistance, can significantly increase the workload with either the same weight or slightly lower weight. So it's important that you know when you first start that I would reduce the weight. It's important for safety that you're not just swinging around a weight thinking, I can do this. That doesn't mean you should, right? You can find that lifting less weight with the power component I'm talking about here is really effective. If, for instance, I have a client lifting about 80%, or that's 80% of their equivalent of 1 rep max, and we don't test anybody for 1 rep, it's not safe. That would mean, though, they're reaching fatigue at about 10 repetitions. To employ power, I'll have them reduce the weight to about 60%, or what they would be able to lift between 15 and 20 times, more closely 20, going slow, and then use power. And the results for both weight loss, increasing the energy expenditure, and bone density are significant and almost edge out going slow and heavier. Can be good news to some of us who want to exercise safely. Adding power is something we use in the 12-week Stronger program. The way I recommend you plan your quarter out of 12 weeks at a time. How are you cycling through things so you're keeping aware of change for the long term, not just what am I doing this week or what am I doing in this workout, but how does it relate to yesterday, tomorrow, and to next week and to next month. You never want to add speed first. You want to be sure you have mobility, the entire range of motion, you're going through it, the strength, and then add speed, which makes for the power component. That's strength plus speed. And we learned that somewhere in physics, right? Power is what you use when you're riding uphill on a bike, or you're catching your car door or the store door against the wind. That's power. The next tip is to challenge balance, but you have to be careful with this one. In the last decade and a half, so many products for balance have emerged featuring, this is something that's going to make you off balance, so you have to employ more balance, that it's become the norm to use, say, a ball as a bench or to squat on a BOSU and have somebody tell you that it burns more calories because you involve more muscle. Now, I have to argue with that one just a little. You do engage more muscle groups, but you don't necessarily reach fatigue in muscle fibers, specific muscle fibers. And that in the end is what will change your body composition. So how did you interpret this suggestion? Most would have thought of these things, these tools, or standing on one leg to do an exercise. Instead, what I suggest is doing one side at a time. Challenge the balance of the strength on your body, so right side versus left side, by doing your right arm or your right leg first and then the other one. And you'll find what's going on there. So a lot of different ways you can think of balance. And you want to look at the best way to problem solve for the goals that you have, as well as for the limitations you have. So if bone density is a high priority for you, you'll want to find a way to lift the heaviest load using a specific muscle group surrounding the spine, the wrist, and the hips, for instance, which are osteozones, the most likely to be fractured bones if you would fall. If you also have shoulder issues, say loading the spine would be more of a challenge for you. So you couldn't do so easily just a chest press in a row without worrying about the safety of that shoulder, correct? So in order to do that, you're not going to lift so heavy that it's adding stress there. Adding balance using a ball or BOSU would not be a reasonable option in this case. Going slower using lighter weight or adding pauses would increase the safety of the exercise and potentially the strength in the shoulder while providing you the best stimulus, even if it's a lighter load. Eventually, adding speed to a stronger joint would be directly tied to bone density. So even though you may have, this is my initial goal, your initial strength training program is about starting. And then eventually the way that you progress will be based on your goal. That's the best way to determine, here's where I need to go to get the results I want. You can't necessarily start there. You've got to build a foundation. The next tip is to change the order. Sequence is everything. Haven't we heard that? Timing is everything. This is so much so that studies for cellulite, more on Flipping 50's new Strong and Smooth program soon, but studies on cellulite provide insight into what works best for cellulite. Debates still exist about what's more beneficial first, cardio or strength. But those studies are for the most part inconclusive. And then maybe it's better to say that they're conclusive, that either cardio or strength provides benefits for general fitness. The relative perceived difficulty of what is second increases such that your intensity may decrease. And that is, you'll be able to lift less weight or do fewer repetitions of the same weight if you do strength training second. Or you won't go as fast or cover as much distance if you do cardio first compared to doing them each fresh. For most sports performance, then, you'd want to do your sport activity first. A swimmer, for instance, would swim, then lift as she were doing both in the same workout or on the same day. A runner would run first, then lift. But what if you wanted neither of those specifically and you wanted to, say, target cellulite? Then your protocol is different. If you have osteoporosis or arthritis, I would also challenge the order for my clients based on their highest priority. Within your strength training workout is the best place to challenge the sequence of exercise. So not necessarily talking cardio first or strength first, but actually talking within that strength training program, what exercises in what order are you doing? While it's true that when you begin alternating upper and a lower body exercise allows recovery for those muscle groups, in fact, for the body parts, but it also creates slightly more peripheral heart action, which is when the heart has to pump the blood upstairs and downstairs, essentially. But for someone who wants to progress and can't any longer with weight alone, you reach that plateau, this is as heavy as I can or want to go, sequencing several upper body exercises back to back or lower can provide more overload to the muscles. On the other hand, sequencing exercises in a way that allows recovery between use of the same muscle group, but still increases overall work in a given time by doing exercises in a circuit, meaning we do one and then immediately with very little rest, we do another exercise. That's a proven tool for beginning exercisers, provided enough recovery time is allowed. And that means between use of the same muscle group, not necessarily between exercises. Sequencing exercises can be tricky. It's one of the biggest errors I see in the gym with newcomers who randomly do exercises kind of as machines or equipment is available instead of having a specific plan. It's a little bit like if you had a grocery list and say you were in a new store. You've written this grocery list because you know your old store and you pretty much know I'm going to go down this aisle and I'm going to get these things first. And you have it written down maybe in an organized fashion. Now, I realize not all of us are that organized, self included. But then you forget or you don't know your way around a store. And so you end up getting things randomly, from the bottom of the list, the middle of the list, the top of the list, and then back down. That doesn't really matter as long as you get all the groceries. It may take a little bit longer that way than if you knew where you were going and you knew what order you were going to pick those things up. You could potentially write the list more efficiently. But with exercise, it matters because your results will change based on what you work first and second and third and how much rest you have in between. So if you want some support, consider Stronger, but don't wait too long. Access is open January 1st to everyone who's in the group. So you can learn more at flipping50.com/get stronger. The next tip is reduce the rest. So to apply this last method of increasing difficulty without increasing weight, you have to know it's a match for your goals. If you want true strength, you will not want to reduce the rest between use of the same muscle groups. In that case, you would not want to, say, do a push-up and then a chest press. and then a chest fly or a tricep exercise. All of those using the same muscle groups. I introduced that in the prior example. If muscle endurance is the goal, then reducing the rest between use of the same muscle group will work. When you first begin strength training, rest of 3 to 5 minutes is documented as best for allowing recovery and for building strength. And that again is easily accomplished without adding tons of time to your workout by sequencing exercises thoughtfully in a circuit. Rest between exercises when you begin should and just naturally will be longer. You'll have a learning curve. You'll be more thoughtful and cautious as you set up each exercise. And as you progress, you want to be sure that you're remaining thoughtful about rest and have a purpose for it because it does matter. Similar to interval training, intervals, rest time should be longer at first for beginners and may or may not progressively shorten depending on not your mood or the rush that you're in, but on your goal. You may opt to reduce the rest to 1 to 2 minutes from that initial 3 to 5 minutes, or to 30 seconds if you don't want strength and muscle fiber recruitment, but you're purely focused on endurance. And I will emphasize that for weight loss, specifically fat loss and bone density, rest periods will stay on the moderate to longer side. If you're rushing it, you're actually going to be decreasing your ability to lift as heavy as you want for positive change. Consider the exercise format you're currently doing and whether it's been planned for your specific goals. Small changes, not just to the mode sequence, whether it's cardio or strength, the exercise sequence, and to the rest between exercises for the same muscle group or even body parts can have a big impact on your success. And you do want to keep the body guessing, but you want to do that in a calculated, not a random way. There you have it. I hope I see you soon in a Flipping 50 program or hear from you a comment about something I've shared. Until then, if you have a question, leave it below the show notes at flipping50.com. Start strength. And I would be so grateful if you found value in a tip or confirmation you're on the right track. If you would, 1, leave this or share this with a friend, and 2, leave a rating in iTunes. It really helps me to reach women who have amazing gifts to share and helps them get the energy and vitality they want and need to do it. And it helps you surround yourself with women on the same journey. What are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 together.